Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to talk about the fact that the thing that we expected to happen is definitely happening, and it's happening even more than normal, and this is wonderful. It seems like the prices of those Journey Together singles, I told you, remember the other day, don't buy singles yet, it's too early to buy singles. Prices are going to come down. Well, wonderful news, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful news. The set's now been out for a few days. Not even that many days, to be honest with you. And prices are coming crashing down. And frankly, this is wonderful news. And of course, with the set being out, we now have lovely, proper scans of all the cards. And that is wonderful news. It's a good news day. So let's start off with what is most definitely the biggest card in the set, and that is Lily's Clefairy EX, which is, as I've told you guys, actually super playable. This is like a legit, really, really playable card. It's seeing a lot of play, a lot of success over in Japan right now, as part of a box deck, not on its own, but still, that's kind of impressive. It's a very, very cool card. And the artwork is amazing. You add all of this up, this should be a very cool card. How much were people paying after pre-releases began? $600. 3 solds in a row here. One for $625, one for $550, one for $625. Let's round it out to about $600 and be done with it. Okay. So what are people paying for it now? Well, I mean, obviously a lot less. Nowadays, about $220. Honestly, let's go for about $220. We got one sold for $220, one sold for $215, and one sold for $243 with a couple of Wailord. And I'm not entirely sure why. Also, it's one of those that says, please read description, but there's nothing in the description which is particularly bad. It just says, make sure you know you're buying 2 Wailord as well. I'm not sure why they sold it with 2 Wailord, although that is a bootyful card. Just seems a little bit weird to me. This is not quite a third of the price, but not far off. This is a gigantic fall, and the set's been out for 3 days. This is Monday. Hopefully this video goes up on Monday. There's a chance it goes up a bit later if news drops. But it is Monday. The set came out on Friday. And I know the pre-releases started 2 weeks ago, but every time when I do that set where I go, hey, guys, maybe stop buying singles. A large part of the reason is because, as I always explain to you, buying singles when pre-releases are going on is a terrible idea. The hype is huge because the cards are finally getting into hand. People are finally starting to play with them. That is when the hype really hits fever pitch because people have been waiting for these cards. But there aren't actually many out there because the amount of cards that end up out there at pre-release is pretty significantly low, which is a bit of a problem because we kind of don't have many cards. Yeah. Well, when the real release happens, all of a sudden we get a gigantic influx of cards, and then all of a sudden the prices crash. Look what's happened here. From 600 down to 220. That's a 63% drop. Yeah, that's right. I did it on a calculator. I worked it out. I did the maths. Cool. What else are big cards right now? Lily's Bellibolt. Now, I actually have a Lily's Bellibolt. It's beautiful. I also pulled it from a box that was gifted by Pokemon, so, was never going to be selling it anyway. But when I showed it to you the other day, there was one which actually sold for a bargain $100, but the other two I showed you sold for $200 and $300. So the prices were a little bit all over the place, don't get me wrong, but this was a very expensive card. Is it still that expensive? Obviously not. That's the point of the video. Okay, something weird's going on here. Because one sold for $100, and that was with bids. So that's what people decided it was worth, actually bidding up. One sold for $135, and one sold for $135 with a Wailord. Why is there, genuinely, is there something I'm missing here? Why are people selling these chase cards with Wailord? Why is it always Wailord? What am I missing? I love Wailord. I have the card in English and Japanese. I'm delighted about this. I'm a big Wailord fan. I love this Wailord card. It's one of my favourite Wailord cards, and I love Wailord, but why? Genuinely, this is super confusing to me. But whereas before Lily's Bellibolt was $200-ish or more, it's now sitting like $120. And honestly, $120 is probably slightly high. Here's 2 in a row that sold for $80. So maybe call it an $80 card, $100 card. And the thing is, this happens every time. These cards are just not going to end up being higher than a lot of the other chase cards we've seen around. Why would they? Plus, of course, Journey Together is made from a single Japanese set, which makes the big pools actually easier to grab, which is a big deal. So, okay, that's pretty cool. What else have we got? Well, I told you that one of the most egregious the other day was the illustration rare Articuno. It was an $85 card. And the art is fine, but it's not exactly anything hugely special. And, well, to put it bluntly, it's not even a particularly good or playable card. So this should never have been a big card. Yeah, it's like a $40 card. Now, there is one that sold for $56 in between, but we've got a $40 and a $45 here. I told you the other day with this Articuno that the idea that this would be an $85 card is absurd. And I know that every set we like to take 1 or 2 illustration rares and just pump them up way higher than they have any right to be. But at least most of the time it's a playable card, or it's really ridiculous artwork, or it's one of the most popular Pokemon around. And yes, I know Articuno is a Gen 1 legendary bird. We all love the Gen 1 legendary birds, but I don't think that they are a category amongst themselves that makes them worthy of being on the upper echelon of these illustration rares. Not unless they're playable, or there's something else going on here like particularly special art or something like that. There was never anything in this Articuno card that was amazing, and this is actually slightly higher than the average one over in Japan, has been since release. But there's no real reason for it other than, well, Articuno's quite cool, isn't he? So yeah, this can be a little bit higher than average, fine. But is it actually going to be a big card in the game value-wise? No! That was never going to happen. That was never destined to be the case. $85 when I showed you the other day, I told you was absolutely absurd. It remained absolutely absurd, and it started to come down. Still a pretty expensive card for what it's worth, but nothing like what it was originally, obviously so. What else did I show you the other day? Well, I showed you Lily's Ribombee, speaking of illustration rares, which was actually a far more reasonable $40, $50. Which is interesting to me, because this should have been one of the biggest cards in the set. Illustration rare-wise, it certainly was over in Japan. So does that mean that $40, $50 was actually just getting to the right price super quickly? No! Cards come down after release. Yes, $40 seemed way too low, especially when compared to Articuno, but it was a pre-release price, which means it's way too high. Now it's a $20 card. Obviously, it's come down to about a $20 card. And also, when we see the price changes here, I'm not telling you it's come down by like 10%. These cards are dropping by 50% or more. They are absolutely crashing in price. And to be fair, it's happening more and more pronounced with Journey Together than we generally see from other sets. Like this one coming down to half price, I love it. It's not generally what we tend to see, but I think it's wonderful. I wish it was what we tended to see. I wish we saw bigger drops every time. The one thing that makes it weird to me is that we all know this is going to happen. And don't get me wrong, there's going to be like a very small subset of people who are doing things like buying the first one so they can have the first one that's graded because they want to sell the first graded card because the first graded card is going to attract more value. Stuff like that is always going to happen, and that kind of makes sense. But that's going to be a very small amount of the sales. Most of the time, it's just people buying cards super early. And look, I've told you many times before, if you just want to buy cards early because you want them now and you don't care that you're paying a bit more, go for it. This is only ever a friendly advice on your old pal Wassy. But it is a little bit weird to me that this just keeps happening. Every set. And it's not even like a little drop. It's not even like, well, you know, it's 5 to 10% higher, but I can deal with it. No! It's like double the price. The other one I showed you the other day was N Zoroark, the special illustration rare, which was going for like $270. And isn't even a top 2 special illustration rare in the set. It's the third biggest maybe. Like, ridiculous prices. Absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, the sale's now like $125. Here's a couple for $125 and one for $135. Like, massively lower. Like, the idea that this was ever a $275 card was absolutely absurd. Anyone who bought it at $275, well, they could literally have saved $150 just by waiting a couple of days. Like, this is significantly less than half price. The set has been out for 3 days. I love when these sets crash in price. I love when they crash in price this much, this fast. And the great knock-on effect of this is going to be, who really wants to spend massive scalper amounts of money on Journey Together now? Like, if the singles are going to be this cheap, why am I spending massively over the odds for a box when I could just buy the singles? Yeah, I'm not gonna. And now it makes the set a lot less scalpel, and we're going to talk more about this in the coming week. But the short version here is a little nice introduction. If the singles aren't selling for very much, what's the point of spending loads on the boxes? The answer is, there isn't much point, and that's wonderful. So that's what you need to know, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about these singles. What did you pull from your pre-releases? Are you having a wonderful time? Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! But be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. And get shoutouts on the channel like the lovely Unknown One, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.